Arrogant millionaire challenges waitress to dance. What happens next will shock you forever. The bustling diner was alive with chatter, the clatter of silverware blending into a cacophony of daily life, when a figure burst through the door. Tall, muscular, draped in a tailored suit that screamed wealth, Jacob Sterling entered like a storm. Just a glimpse of his white smile ignited the room, eyes darting from him to the waitress at the counter, Sarah, quietly pouring coffee. Rumors had swirled about this man, the self-made millionaire who toyed with lives as easily as he flicked lint off his coat. The air thickened with expectancy, a thrill creeping through the crowd like a shaky heartbeat. What was he up to now? Jacob locked eyes with Sarah, his smirk both daring and unnerving. "Hey, sweetheart," he called, his voice smooth yet biting. The diner fell silent. "Let us put on a show. I challenge you to dance." Laughter rippled through the booth. Nervous glances exchanged. Was he joking? The fluorescent lights flickered, creating an eerie ambience, as if even the universe held its breath. Sarah stood frozen, her fingers trembling around the coffee pot. Was this a joke? What was happening? Then came the chatter. "He is serious." One customer gasped, disbelief etched across their face. "She could lose her job." Another whispered harshly. The tension twisted in knots around Sarah, squeezing her chest. She was just a waitress, and this was her boring Tuesday night. But the way the eyes shimmered in anticipation fueled an unexpected flame within her. What if she danced? What if she took the spotlight? Her heart pounded in her ears, and for a moment, the world shrank to just them. But then a chill crept back into the diner. Questions hung in the air. Why would he do this? What was his endgame? With every heartbeat, the stakes climbed higher. People leaned in, whispers swirling about Jacob's notorious pranks. The atmosphere thickened with possibilities, excitement, and dread. It was clear this wasn't just about a dance. It was a battle, a spectacle where something vital could break. Would Sarah stand tall or crumble under the pressure? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence was deafening as Sarah stared into the void of Jacob's challenge, the eyes of the diner burning holes into her resolve. Would she accept the duel of the dance? Time seemed frozen, the world waiting for her decision. In that instant, everything shifted, and a thrill surged through her. She stepped forward, heart racing. What would happen next? Would this dance lead to her downfall or her triumph? The mystery of the moment hung in the air, electrifying as anticipation swelled. With the weight of 100 stares on her, Sarah took another step forward, bracing herself against the overwhelming tide of curiosity and judgment. It felt like the floor was a stage, and she was caught under a spotlight, each breath heavy with the weight of expectations. She had never been one for attention, yet here she was on the precipice of change. "All right," she said, her voice barely above a whisper but laced with defiance. The laughter died abruptly, replaced by stunned silence, punctuated only by the whirring of the diner's neon lights. Emotion swirled within her: fear, excitement, rebellion. Was this what it felt like to break away from the mundane? To seize something larger than herself? Jacob's grin widened and he took a step back, granting her space to breathe. "Show me what you've got." The challenge was not just about dancing. It was a dare to defy expectations, to reveal who she really was beneath that waitress uniform. The jukebox, sensing the shift, crackled to life. The first notes of a classic tune filled the air, pulling Sarah into an involuntary rhythm. Hearts raced. Sarah closed her eyes for a second, imagining the crowd fading away. In that moment, she could feel her body coming alive, a restless spirit eager to escape the confines of her everyday life. When she opened her eyes again, she saw Jacob leaning casually against the counter, watching her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. There was something about that gaze, it sparked fear and excitement in equal measure. With a deep breath, she twirled, letting herself fall into the music, embracing the moment. The diner became a whirlpool of movement as she swayed and spun, her movements raw and unpolished yet undeniable. Gasps of surprise and bursts of applause from onlookers fueled her fire, and soon laughter and cheers erupted as people began to clap along to the beat. It was a symphony of emotions, laughter competing with disbelief. But amidst the cheers, Sarah noticed Jacob's expression shift. The playful arrogance in his eyes turned combined with something stormy, a flicker of darkness she hadn't expected. Was he enjoying the spectacle, or was she losing control of the game? Fear clutched at her chest, battling the thrill that had propelled her so far. Before Sarah could process it, Jacob stepped in, claiming the space beside her. He moved with an effortless grace, his body gliding in rhythmic harmony with the music. They danced together, a strange duet, thrilling yet anxiety-inducing. The atmosphere shifted again, tension woven into the fabric of the performance. Would he steal her moment or elevate it to something beyond? "I didn't think you had it in you," Jacob taunted over the music, his smile both charming and sinister. "But then again, maybe I underestimated you." She couldn't shake off the feeling that this was part of a game, one with stakes bigger than a dance-off. And just like that, the rhythm of the music began to slow, the laughter dimming against a backdrop of uncertain whispers. The crowd leaned in closer, their joy now tainted with a sense of foreboding. What would be the price of this performance? But as if reading her thoughts, Jacob leaned closer, his voice low and smooth. "You'll regret this decision." Before he could finish, a sudden crash resonated from the diner's entrance. The door burst open, and the air chilled with an unfamiliar tension. Every head turned, eyes wide with shock. What would come next? A tall figure stood silhouetted against the harsh neon light of the diner. The frame was imposing, the energy around him crackling like static. Sarah's heart drummed harder in her chest, drowning out the sudden silence that enveloped the room. "Who let you in?" Jacob's voice sliced through the tension, low and dangerous. The onlookers whispered among themselves, nerves crackling in the charged atmosphere. The newcomer stepped fully into view, revealing slicked back hair, a tailored black suit, and a smirk that suggested he was used to getting his way. His eyes scanned the crowd before fixing on Sarah and Jacob, making it clear he had no intention of letting the moment go unnoticed. "Didn't mean to interrupt your little party," the stranger said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Then a chilling laugh escaped his lips. "You know, I've always found it amusing how ordinary people think they can." Just his gaze locked with Sarah's, and a shiver of unease crept up her spine. "Dance." Jacob stepped in front of her, a protective wall, but the stranger merely chuckled, unfazed. "You must be Jacob. Heard a lot about you." He flicked his gaze back to Sarah. "But you're the interesting one. They say you're dancing like your life depends on it. Care to tell me why?" Heat rushed to Sarah's cheeks, a mixture of embarrassment and fury brewing within her. She could feel the weight of the crowd's attention. Their curiosity turned to scrutiny. What did this man want? Was it just a game? The stakes, it seemed, had shifted dangerously high. "Who the hell are you?" Jacob snapped, fists clenched, stepping closer to the stranger, ready for a confrontation. The animosity between the two men ignited the air around them, and the onlookers gripped their forks and spoons, unsure whether they were witnessing entertainment or a flashpoint for conflict. The stranger raised an eyebrow, amusement flashing across his face. "Oh, just someone who knows how the world works. And I've got to say," he turned back to Sarah, "you really shouldn't be dancing without a plan. It can lead to unexpected consequences." Fueled by her newfound defiance, Sarah slipped beneath Jacob's protective arm. "And what makes you think you can waltz in here and dictate anything?" Her voice filled the diner, igniting the crowd's tension yet again. He leaned closer, a predatory glint in his eyes. "'Cause, sweetheart, I can give you things Jacob can't. A life beyond this place. If you're willing to gamble a little, of course." A tide of whispers surged through the diner. Sarah's stomach twisted. What did he mean by a gamble? The thrill of dancing had been exhilarating, liberating. But this felt like something else. Something darker. "Stay out of this or you'll regret it," Jacob threatened, his voice laced with urgency. The stranger simply shrugged, a nonchalant image of arrogance. "Maybe you both are missing the bigger picture. This isn't just a dance, is it? It's a choice." He paused, letting the words hang heavy in the air. "Who are you willing to risk it all for?" The question hung, unwelcome yet intoxicating, and Sarah drew a deep breath, uncertainty coursing through her. Was she ready for whatever game was unfolding before her? Suddenly, the jukebox fell silent, the lights twinkling as if waiting for her response. The entire diner seemed to hang on the brink of revelation, a collective breath held tightly. What choice would she make? And as the crowd leaned in, straining to find an answer, the stranger smiled. Time to decide, Sarah. With all eyes on her, the pressure tightened like a noose. What did she truly want? The answer loomed larger than ever. The air grew thick, heavy with anticipation. Sarah's pulse raced, each heartbeat a drum urging her to act, to choose. Confusion danced with desire in her mind as the eyes of the diner pierced through her, almost seeing into her soul. Sarah, think. Jacob's voice barely penetrated the fog of her thoughts. She could sense his worry, feel the heat radiating from his body, protecting her from whatever danger this man posed. But there was something magnetic about the stranger, something that beckoned her to step forward. What if I don't want your life? She challenged, lips trembling slightly as she fought to keep her composure. Her words cut through the tension, but they were shaky. The truth lingered on the edge of her tongue, a whisper she was afraid to acknowledge. Oh, but that's where you're mistaken. The stranger leaned back, clearly enjoying the unfolding spectacle. His grin widened, a predator savoring the chase. You already want it. It's just buried beneath your doubts. A few patrons shot glances at each other, the tension palpable. What kind of game are you playing? Jacob stepped in closer, fists still clenched, guarding her but also serving to cage her in with his unwavering loyalty. The kind that requires a bit of courage. The stranger's tone shifted, taking on an almost seductive quality. Courage to break free, to dance to your own rhythm. To embrace consequences, not hide from them. Sarah stepped back, defiance mixing with fear. I don't need your help. I've made it this far on my own. The stranger's eyes sparkled with mischief. But at what cost? Dancing is meant to be spontaneous, free. Yet here you are, shackled by expectations, everyone else's opinions weighing you down. He gestured toward the crowd, whose collective gaze painted Sarah as both a spectacle and a soldier in retreat. Don't let him manipulate you, Sarah. Jacob's voice was fierce, torn between protection and desperation. But something inside her stirred, an ember ignited by his words. She had been dancing, yes, but not allowed herself to truly live the way she had dreamed. What if she really could take the leap, stretch her wings beyond this damn diner? And if I wanted to? She questioned, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. What's in it for me? The stranger leaned in, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, as if sharing a secret that could change everything. Everything. A taste of the real world full of options. The choice is yours, Sarah. The air crackled with suspense. Each breath she took felt heavier, thicker with the weight of his offer. Was it worth the risk? Did she even truly understand what was at stake? Jacob's eyes darkened with fear, his protective aura almost suffocating. You don't know him. This isn't just about dancing, Sarah. Yes, playing with fire. The stranger chuckled, a sound that dripped with danger. Fire keeps you warm, Jacob. Care to dance? He paused, holding her gaze. Or will you let it extinguish under the weight of hesitation? A dancer's life was one of flames and thrills, but this was a different kind of heat. As the clock ticked slowly in the background, Sarah felt the room spin, gravity pulling her toward the choice that lay before her. Would she dare step into the unknown, risk everything she knew, or would fear steal her freedom? The moment loomed larger than life. Every second stretched to breaking point. Until what will you choose, Sarah? A dance with me could open doors you never dreamed existed, and with that, the weight of every decision crushed the air around her, despair and curiosity battling for dominance within her heart. She took a breath, ready to step into the light or retreat into darkness. But little did she know, the consequences would stretch far beyond that dance floor. As she opened her mouth to respond, a sudden crash echoed through the diner, shattering the moment and leaving the decision hanging precariously in the air. Eyes turned, nerves frayed, Sarah's heart pounded as the smoke began to rise. The smoke spiraled like a living creature, winding its way through the air, and Sarah's throat tightened. The unmistakable scent of burning material filled her nostrils, sending panic racing through her veins. Diners gasped, chairs scraped against the floor, and a chorus of confusion erupted as everyone scrambled to figure out what was happening. "Stay close," Jacob urged, grabbing her arm, but she felt a magnetic pull toward the stranger. He watched her, eyes gleaming with a wicked delight, as if the chaos ignited something thrilling within him. "Let them panic," he said, his voice a low purr, filled with charm and danger. "This is the moment to seize life, Sarah. Wouldn't you rather dance in flames than stand idly by?" The flames cracking from the kitchen grew louder, the real danger slicing through the din of voices. Jacob's grip tightened on her, desperate and fearful. "We need to get out. Now." She glanced toward Jacob. His face was a storm of emotion, fear for her safety, anger toward the stranger, and an undeniable protectiveness. But the allure of the unknown tempted her like a siren song. What lay beyond the smoke? A taste of freedom? Suddenly, from the back of the diner, a figure emerged, rushing through the haze. It was Martha, the diner's owner, her face pale and frantic. "Evacuate! Everyone out now!" The command cut through the confusion like a knife, and a new wave of urgency surged through the room. People scrambled toward the exits, the air thickening with frantic energy. Sarah's heart raced, torn between the safety of Jacob and the wild promise in the stranger's eyes. "Go," Jacob insisted, his voice breaking through the fog. "We have to leave." Yet their escape route was already filled with panicked patrons. The smell of smoke enveloped them, and Sarah's breath quickened. She could hear sirens in the distance closing in, but the world outside felt so far away from the storm swirling inside her. "Stay with me, Sarah." Jacob's gaze bore into hers, filled with desperation. "I won't let anything happen to you." The stranger chuckled softly, a dark melody. "But Jake, isn't life about taking risks? Embracing the unexpected?" "Shut up." Jacob spat back, fists clenched. He tugged at her arm, coaxing her toward the nearest exit. But Sarah hesitated, her heart torn between two fires, the one threatening the building and the tempting blaze of this strange man's offer. "What happens if I step forward?" she whispered, looking back at the stranger. "What if I choose to dance with you?" His smile deepened, displaying an enigmatic charm that made her chest tighten. "You ignite the spark of everything you ever wanted. The risk can lead to greatness or ruin." The grounding noise of the sirens reminded her of the reality engulfing them. The crowd was moving quickly now, people spilling out onto the street. "Sarah!" Jacob's voice broke through, filled with a sincerity that pierced her hesitation. "You don't have to choose this. You can choose us." The fire roared behind her, each second that passed laced with potential peril. She could hear the anxiety in Jacob's breath, feel the weight of his concern. But the stranger remained a stone in the wave of chaos, cool and collected, and that moment, a decision settled into her bones, heavier than the smoke around her. Would she turn her back on her safe haven? Or would she plunge into a world where passion and danger entwined? Before she could decide, a loud explosion echoed from the kitchen, sending shards of glass and wood splintering across the floor. Shouts broke through the air, terror infused with every heartbeat. "Now, Sarah, choose." The stranger beckoned, raising his hand invitingly, the flames flickering in the distance, pulling her toward destiny. The smoke became suffocating as Sarah stood at the crossroads of her life. One way led to safety, while the other opened into uncertainty, a darkness that gleamed with promise and the chaos. A familiar voice echoed one Sarah hadn't heard for years, reverberating deep within her memories. It was a name, a figure she had buried but never forgotten. The truth of who she was and who she could become rushed back like a tidal wave. "What if I don't want to be saved?" she whispered, exchanging a knowing glance with the stranger. And just like that, the choice hung shimmering in the smoke. Would she confront her true self, or follow Jacob into the safety of the world she had always known? As the flames beckoned behind her, a flicker of the past ignited. And with a gasp she took a step toward uncertainty, not yet realizing the full depth of the choice she had just made. The moment Sarah stepped forward, the air shifted. Time seemed to freeze, the chaos receding like the tide. In that deafening silence, her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The stranger's eyes sparkled with mischief and promise, as if he knew exactly what this leap into the unknown could bring. "Smart choice," he murmured, stepping closer, his voice smooth and enticing. The flames behind them danced wildly, casting flickering shadows that played tricks on her mind. She felt an electric charge in the air, blades of anxiety and thrill crisscrossing within her. But behind her, she could still sense Jacob's fear, raw and palpable. "Sarah." His voice cracked, desperation spilling over. "Don't do this. We're in danger." She turned slightly, waving Jacob off, her heart a battlefield of emotions. "You don't understand," she hissed, her eyes flaring with defiance. "I want to know what's on the other side." Then she faced the stranger fully. "What's your name?" "Damon," he replied, stepping closer. "And tonight we'll decide what you truly want." The smoke thickened, swirling overhead like a storm cloud ready to unleash. She was acutely aware of the others around her, lost in their panic, barely glancing back at the growing flames. Their world was crumbling, but she felt alive. More alive than she had in years. Damon extended his hand, palm upturned, inviting her into the depths of chaos. "Let us escape this," he said, "and see how far we can go before the world finds us again." She bit her lip, glancing back at Jacob, who stood frozen, eyes wide like saucers, the weight of unease filling the space between them. Was she really leaving that behind? The safety he offered, or the intoxicating thrill of embracing the wild unknown? "Sarah." Jacob's voice shook her from her trance. He took 2 hurried steps forward. "We can leave together. We can fix this. Please." But Damon's grip on her heart tightened. Fix what? A life filled with regret? Glamour? Mediocrity? "Join me, and let us dance on the edge of this destruction." His eyes flashed with genuine intensity. "You have the power to change everything." A crash sounded from the kitchen, accompanied by a new wave of heat. The roar of flames surged through the diner, and she caught the terrified expressions of the remaining patrons. This was at a moment so heavy with promise and peril that it almost felt sacred. "Fine," she snapped, latching onto Damon's hand. It felt solid and warm, in stark contrast to the fear knotting her stomach. "What's next?" "Follow me," he grinned, pulling her away from the chaos, diving deeper into the swirling smoke. She stumbled but found her footing, looking over her shoulder one last time at Jacob. His face contorted with anguish and her chest tightened. They burst through a side door, emerging onto an unlit alley. Panic still flooded her system, but beyond the fear was a flicker of hope. The allure of the open road, the unknown, was calling her in a way she never thought possible. "There's a car waiting," Damon said, glancing back at the diner where the flames licked hungrily at the air. "Are you ready to leave it all behind?" "It's just I could lose everything," she exclaimed. The heat of the flames mirrored the blaze inside her, the threat of losing Jacob perhaps more poignant than she acknowledged. "You could gain everything," Damon shot back, urgency mingling with excitement. "Freedom. Power. Yourself." As they sprinted toward the car, she felt the weight of her past pulling like chains. But behind her was a world ablaze, both literally and metaphorically. With a shout, she pulled the door open and climbed inside with Damon, the engine rumbling to life. Everything she had known spun away as the tires squealed against the asphalt. But just as the diner faded into the distance, she spotted a figure emerging from the smoke, a silhouette she recognized. Fear washed over her like cold water. "Jacob?" The name slipped from her lips like a prayer. Damon's laughter echoed in the enclosed space. "Looks like he's not letting go that easily." Behind them, the wheels spun faster as the truth settled heavy in her stomach. Would she ever escape the shadows of her past? And at what cost? As the distance between them grew, Sarah struggled with her choices. She had opened one door, but in doing so, had she just sealed another? "Where are we headed?" she asked, staring at the road stretching before them, uncertainty and possibility intertwining. "To a new life," Damon replied with confidence that fueled her hope. "But be ready for what comes next. There's no turning back now." With a jolt, the car sped forward into the night, Sarah feeling the weight of her decision like a brand searing into her soul. What awaited them in the darkness ahead? The flames behind her were far from the only danger her past loomed, vibrant and volatile. Just as she began to breathe, a shadow moved closer. "Stop!" she shouted, her heart racing. The world outside felt vast, but could she truly outrun what she left behind? The suspense hung thick in the air, pulsing with possibilities. Would she be able to forge her own destiny, or would the flames of her past catch up with her? The engine roared and the car shot down the dimly lit street, weaving through the quiet night. Sarah's heart raced, fluttering in her chest as fear and exhilaration intertwined in a chaotic dance. The heat from the diner lingered in her body, reminding her of everything she was fleeing. But behind her, she could still see the glow of flames reflecting off the dark glass. "Can you go faster?" she urged, tension wrapping around her like a vice. Damon's eyes glanced sidelong at her, mischief dancing in them. "Patience, Sarah. We need to be smart. Rushing won't save you from the past." Smart. The word tasted bitter on her tongue. Smart would have been listening to Jacob. Damon chuckled, that magnetic sound sending shivers through her. "Jacob wanted to keep you in his safe little box. I offer you the universe. And I'm supposed to trust you?" She shot back, her voice edged with doubt. He smirked. Trust is built in the fire, after all. The road ahead felt infinite and threatening, and Sarah's mind raced along with it. She pictured Jacob's terrified face, his pleas echoing in her ears. What was happening? Why had she chosen this path? She gritted her teeth and squeezed her eyes shut, fighting against the tide of emotion. With each mile that slipped away, the uncertainty grew deeper, more complex. She focused on Damon, on the thrill he exuded. Yet the unease crawled over her skin, whispering that she hadn't seen the whole picture. "Where exactly are we going?" she pressed, her voice trembling. "Somewhere we can breathe again. Where no one will judge you," he replied, his tone smooth, coaxing. The tension sharpened when he expertly maneuvered the car down a narrow, deserted street that twisted and turned like a snake. Shadows danced in the headlights, casting eerie shapes along the cracked pavement. Panic clawed at her, and the question of whether she'd made a grave mistake clawed at the back of her mind. "Are you really doing this, Sarah?" she whispered to herself, remembering Jacob's alarm. Damon turned sharply. "What are you afraid of? The fire?" "I might have made a horrible choice," she said, her voice barely audible. "Your choice," he shot back, "is to reject the past or drown in it. I'd rather dance in the chaos." As they turned another corner, Sarah spotted something flipping in the rearview mirror, brilliant lights piercing the darkness behind them. "Are those?" Damon slammed on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt, and he leaned forward, eyes widening. "Go," she shouted, panic surging. "You need to drive." "I am," he snapped, gripping the wheel. "But we've just been followed. This isnn't just a fire, Sarah. They've come for you. And for me." Her heart plummeted, a lump forming in her throat. "What do you mean?" "The life I walked away from tends to track me down." A black car was now tailing them, headlights blinding, as if the driver had a vendetta. Her mind raced with a million thoughts, fear sending adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Damon!" she yelled, "they're coming for us." "I know." His expression hardened, his brow furrowing in determination. "Buckle up. It's about to get wild." As they launched forward, the car behind them lunged forward, viciously gaining speed. They were locked in a chase, the kind of race that could end in either freedom or disaster. "Hang on," Damon shouted, veering into an alleyway, the tires screeching as he drifted sharply. "Trust me." She clenched her fists, every ounce of her being anchored in the uncertain reality of their flight. In the rearview mirror, the black car swerved, sparks flying as it attempted to keep pace. "Do we have a plan?" she cried out. "Survive," he yelled, adrenaline blazing in his voice. The alley turned into a maze as Damon veered left, then right. The black car was relentless, a predator unyielding in its pursuit. Fear and adrenaline soaring through her system, Sarah leaned closer, her voice low and steady. "What happens if we can't outrun them?" Damon shot her a sideways glance, his expression fierce, confidence mingling with a storm of uncertainty. "Then we fight." She could feel the gravity of those words. It wasn't just about running anymore. It was about standing her ground. But how? As they sped into the unknown, the shadows of her past loomed larger and larger, and the danger only intensified. The sound of tires screeching and engines roaring filled the air, drowning out her racing thoughts. Would they weave through the night and escape the flames of her past, or would it catch up to engulf them both? Damon's grip on the wheel tightened, and the two paths ahead began to blur into one. What choice would she make when cornered, fight or surrender? The answer loomed ahead, pulsing in the darkness like a heartbeat. The headlights closed in, a single eye fixed on them, pulsating with menace. Sarah's pulse quickened as Damon twisted the wheel again, sending them careening into another alley, nearly scraping the wall as they turned. "Hold on!" he shouted, his voice slicing through her panic. The dashboard lights flickered as he expertly shifted gears, the engine growling defiantly against their relentless pursuer. Why won't they back off? She could barely hear her own voice above the roar of the wind slashing through the open windows. "Because they want something from us," he grunted, eyes narrowed in concentration. His jaw tensed, every muscle in his body coiled with tension. What could they possibly want? The question felt futile, yet it clung to her thoughts like an anchor. Sarah turned her gaze back to the mirror, dread pooling in her stomach as she saw the black car gain ground. Its headlights were like knives slicing through the night, an omen of the looming danger. Damon took a sharp right, skidding past dumpsters and neon signs that flashed warnings. "They know about you, Sarah. They want to take you back." "Back where?" Her voice trembled, clinging to that flicker of hope he seemed to embody. "Not where you think," he muttered, his voice low, barely above a whisper. "They're people who will stop at nothing to keep their secrets safe." The alley opened into a wider street. Damon glanced back, eyes wide with determination. "We can't let them catch us. We have to split up." "Split up?" Panic flared. "That's insane. We're too big of a target together," he said decisively. "If they want you, you have to slip away while I keep them busy." "Like hell." She felt a surge of heat beneath her skin, reckless defiance soaring through the fear. "I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice." He shot a glance at her, a flare of frustration mixed with something softer, a brief flash of vulnerability. "This is about your life, your freedom. If they catch you, I won't let them take me." The fire inside her surged anew. Suddenly, she couldn't just be a passenger in her own life. "Then we fight together," Damon said, his eyes catching the light of the street lamps as they hurtled forward, unrelenting in their pursuit. The black car roared behind them, its engine echoing like a beating heart, hungry and relentless. The turns and twists of the road blurred into the night, a rush of urgency coating everything in a desperate hue. But as they sped through a familiar intersection, something clicked in her mind. She recognized the storefronts lining the street. Her instinct screamed to turn, but it was too late. Damon's choice pushed them directly toward the heart of the darkness. "Damon!" she gasped, horror settling in her throat as the shadows deepened. "This isn't safe. Trust me, I know where I'm going," he shouted. But with each passing moment, the pounding in her chest hammered louder, drowning out everything else. Memories flashed before her, the warmth of Jacob's hand, the promise of safety, all swallowed by the flames of her choices. Suddenly, the black car swerved into their lane, forcing them to one side. Damon swerved as well, not giving an inch. The screeching of tires became a chaotic symphony of fear. "We have to make a stand," he yelled, muscles rigid, determination set. "Prepare yourself." "For what?" She didn't have time to process his words before he slammed the brakes, the car skidding to a halt. The alley had led them to a dead end, an old brick wall looming ominously before them. The black car tailing them screeched to a stop behind, its driver stepping out, silhouetted against the headlights. "Damon, what now?" The icy grip of dread wrapped around her heart. "Now we fight." He pulled a small object from his pocket, his eyes intense with purpose. "But what if we lose?" His gaze held hers, fierce and unyielding. "Then we fight fiercely." A bulk of a figure moved forward, shadows cloaking the man as he approached, menacing and relentless. Anxiety surged through Sarah as she felt the weight of the moment settle, the intensity of what was to come unfolding before her. Suddenly, with a profound silence that settled over the chaos, the question loomed: how far was she willing to go to break free from the chains of her past? And just as the figure stepped into view, a voice broke the tension. "It's about time you showed your face, Damon." Tension crackled in the air, thicker than smoke, as secrets blurred the lines of survival. What lay ahead was uncertain, but there was no turning back now. What new horrors would they face in this confrontation, and whose secrets would be exposed when the truth finally surfaced? The figure stepped closer, illuminated by the car's headlights. Sarah squinted, searching for any trace of vulnerability in his demeanor. The man was tall, dressed in a tailored suit that hung perfectly on his muscular frame. His face was obscured by shadows, but the arrogance in his posture was unmistakable. "Have you come to gloat, Lucas?" Damon spat, his voice just low enough for Sarah to catch the venom lacing it. Lucas chuckled softly, a low rumble that sent shivers down her spine. Oh, I've come for much more than that. You should know by now, Damon, I play to win. Sarah glanced at Damon, who clenched his jaw tighter as the moment stretched, tension thickening the air around them. She could feel her heart hammering, each beat resonating with dread. What do you want with her? Damon challenged, stepping protectively in front of Sarah. The small object in his hand gleamed momentarily. A knife? A flash of panic shot through her, but she forced herself to stay calm. Lucas raised an eyebrow, smirking with wicked amusement. You know the rules, my friend. It's not about what I want. It's about what she doesn't realize she deserves. What the hell does that mean? Sarah felt the heat of anger rising. Who was this man who spoke as if he owned her decisions? Let me explain, sweetheart. Lucas's tone shifted, smooth like silk, beckoning her to step closer. You've been living in a lie. Damon has made a choice, an unwise one at that. He thinks he can keep you safe, protect you from the truth. Damon's eyes darkened. Stay away from her. Lucas laughed, a sharp mocking sound. And yet here we are. What's the plan, huh? Cower behind your little knife? It won't save you this time. Damon lunged forward. The sound of crunching gravel under his feet echoed as he closed the gap, while Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline. She needed to do something, but what? Damon! She cried, instinctively grasping his arm, torn between wanting to protect him and the fear of what Lucas could do. Let go of me, Sarah. Don't let him mess with your head. Damon shouted, shaking her off. His eyes burned with intensity, urging her to stand firm and not get lost in Lucas's web of deceit. Bravery can be so foolish, Lucas taunted, slowly stepping toward them, his swagger getting under Sarah's skin. You'll regret this choice, both of you. The moment your past catches up with you, you'll wish you had listened. Shut up. Sarah fired back, defiance igniting a fire within. I won't be your pawn or play into your games any longer. You don't get to control me. Lucas's smile faltered slightly, surprise and intrigue flickering in his gaze. How quaint, he said, as if her words were something to be analyzed. Damon stood tense beside her, caught between his protective instincts and the mind games they were ensnared in. The alleyway felt small, closing in around them, shadows blending into imminent danger. As Lucas circled them, Sarah caught a glint of steel from his cuff. A weapon? An opportunity? Enough talk, he stated abruptly, and the gleam of menace returned to his eyes. Let us cut to the chase. You, my dear, have a choice to make. Will you embrace the truth, or shall I draw it out piece by bloody piece? Fear coursed through Sarah, tightening her muscles. A choice? What did he mean? How many secrets lurked beneath the surface, waiting to erupt? Behind Lucas, the night felt alive, the world closing in. The weight of their confrontation hung like a storm cloud. Damon steadied himself, glancing at Sarah, his eyes clear with a hint of desperation. We need to act. Now. But what action? To leap into the unknown or to face the dark mouth of uncertainty together? As the tension mounted, Sarah's gaze darted between the two men, realization dawning painfully slow. The truth could shatter her world, or it could set her free. Would she dare to uncover the dark corners of this twisted game? Taunted by choices she never wanted? The cold blade of a knife caught the light in Lucas's hand, a promise of the chaos to come. With hearts racing, would they be ready to step into the darkness together? Or would fear undo every thread they had left? As the tension thickened in the alley, Sarah could feel her heart pounding a frantic beat. The air crackled around them. Lucas moved closer, taunting smiles twisting his lips as he waved the knife with an unsettling ease. Fear crept into her bones. Could she truly face whatever he wanted to reveal? Are you really willing to uncover your past? Lucas sneered. Because I assure you, it's a dance you won't forget. Damon stepped forward, defiant and protective, his eyes a storm of determination. You don't know her. You think you can intimidate her, but she's not afraid of you. Oh, but she should be, Lucas said, his tone dripping with malice. The truth can cut deeper than any knife. Are you ready for that, Sarah? Whatever you think you know, you're wrong, she said, her voice shaking but fierce. She was done letting others control her narrative. I'm not going to be your pawn. Lucas's eyes glinted with dark amusement. Ah, the defiance of youth. So charming and so misguided. The truth is the one thing you can't ignore. Behind her, she felt Damon's strength, his unwavering loyalty grounding her as she confronted the man who embodied her fears. The time for talk had ended. Sarah took a deep breath, reaching deep within for courage. I choose my truth, not yours. And if that means fighting for it, then bring it on. Lucas smirked, unperturbed. Then let us dance. With a swift motion, he lunged forward, and before she could even register the move, Damon stepped in front of her, a blur of muscle and determination. The knife gleamed wildly under the alley's dim light, but Damon's fierce resolve pushed it back. A struggle erupted, the clash of their bodies filled the air, and Sarah screamed, urgency rushing through her veins. Run, Sarah! Now! Damon shouted, throwing a glance over his shoulder. She hesitated, fear gripping her heart, but the raw intensity of the moment propelled her to act. Adrenaline took over her limbs as she dashed down the alley, the pounding of her heart eclipsing everything else. Sarah! Damon's voice echoed, but she kept running, shoving open a door to the next street, the cool night air wrapping around her like a bomb. She needed to escape. She needed to find freedom. But Lucas wouldn't let her go easily. The sound of pounding footsteps followed her, mixed with echoes of furious shouts. She glanced back, catching a glimpse of Damon fighting fiercely yet always protecting. The sight fueled the flames within her. She wouldn't run away from this anymore. In the midst of chaos, Sarah's South resolve slammed into place. She could no longer be just a spectator in her own life. The world around her blurred, chasing shadows flickering in the streets. The fiery essence of her past clashed with hope for something greater. She had a choice, a real choice, as she burst into a wider street. Headlights flickered in the distance. A glimmer of hope sparked. A vehicle, an escape. Breathless, she sprinted toward the inviting glow, her determination blazing brighter than ever. Could she claim her own life, dance amidst the flames and not be consumed? Get away from her! Damon's shout rang out from behind her. Hearing him shift gears to defend her ignited something fierce within her. Stop! Sarah yelled, her voice emboldened by newfound strength. The world quieted for a moment. She turned to face Lucas, her heart racing but her resolve steady. You don't get to dictate my future. I'll define it for myself. Lucas halted, surprise evident on his face, but it was short-lived. You think this is a game, don't you? No, she said, forcing herself to stand tall as fear began to ebb away. It's a statement. I'm not afraid of the truth anymore. With that, her feet moved instinctively, driving her faster toward the blaring lights. Each step felt like breaking chains. This was her dance, and she was finally in control. And then through it all she felt Damon at her side, a warmth amidst the storm of uncertainty. Together they reached the car, the engine still rumbling. Damon jumped in beside her. Let us go, he yelled, the urgency palpable as she slammed the door shut. The reality of what she had stepped into began to settle. Lucas roared in fury, but she faced forward, the engine roaring to life, her eyes bright with possibility. She felt free, unbound, unshackled from the past. Hold on tight, Damon shouted as they sped away, the tension of that alley fading into the rearview mirror. The world beyond stretched ahead, limitless and inviting, and this new life, they would forge their own path. The fire hadn't extinguished. It burned vibrant within her, a promise of the adventures yet to come. Sarah looked at Damon, still reeling from the chaos behind them. Were those truly the worst moments? She asked, a touch of uncertainty lacing her voice. From now on, he replied, his gaze fierce yet gentle, they'll only define our strength. And as they drove into the night, the embers of her last dance cooling, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. A forgotten past gave way to a thrilling future. With Damon beside her, she was ready to embrace every moment to come. Now more than ever, she understood. Life was meant to be lived, and she was ready to dance unapologetically into the flames. Before the chapter closes, remember this pivotal moment. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for more riveting tales like Sarah's. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm magic. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories. Let your voice be heard. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how brave Sarah truly became. Your engagement fuels this journey. Clicking, liking, and chatting keeps the magic alive.